Hello again, everybody. All right, so there are all of these one-glove-fits-all strategies out there, and we've talked about one of them in the past, but I was reminded of it because I came across it again as people were debating the efficacy of it, and it's this rule of 100. It's supposed to tell us how much we should have in the stock market on a percentage basis as we're trying to figure out our allocation. So what you do is you take 100, you subtract your age, and that's supposed to give you a guideline of how much you should have in the stock market. So if you're 45, you should have 55% in equities. See how it works? Pretty simple math. You're 75, you should have 25% in the stock market. All right. Yeah, maybe, probably not. I think for most people, it's a little conservative. Maybe we should make it the rule of 110 or maybe even 120, but that's beside the point. It's a one-glove-fits-all strategy, and it to me, it's meaningless. Everybody is unique with what you're trying to achieve and what your risk tolerance. Okay, we've talked about this. I now want to segue to a new one that's now just making the rounds. You've probably not heard about it. I had not until it just popped up on social media. And it's really kind of getting some traction here. And it's this rule right here, 0.01% rule. Okay. I prefer the fraction part of it because it's easier to try to figure this out. And as you can see there, it's 1 over 10,000. Keep that in mind. Here's how it works. You just bought an iPhone and you got all these little extra gadgets you can add to it, but oh my gosh, you don't know if you really want to spend a few extra dollars adding to it. So you apply the rule of 0.01% or 1 over 10,000, which states you take your net worth, and in this case, let's just make it really easy, and we'll just say your net worth is $1 million. So it's not just your investments, it's everything. It's your home, your equity in your home, all that stuff. So let's just say it's $1 million. What is 1/10,000th of that? It's $100. So in this case, as you're thinking about adding that little extra gadget to your iPhone, as long as it's $100 or less, this rule says you shouldn't even sweat it. Don't even think about it. So if you're at a Mexican restaurant with your friends and you see they have the top shelf margarita as opposed to the house brand tequila, like, do I really want to spend the few extra bucks? Well, if it fits into this 0.01% rule, apparently you're supposed to not even think about it and you just do it. Okay, I know it's silly. It's a little goofy. I don't care for it for the most part because here's one of the problems with it, right? You're probably thinking the same thing. It's okay if you do it one time in isolation, but if you apply this multiple times during the day, that kind of defeats the purpose. In aggregate, it could be a real problem for us. It's like if you're on a diet, right, and you're trying to lose some weight. I'm one of those people that say, hey, it's okay to have a little cheat now and then. Don't drive yourself nuts. So on a Friday night, if you want that little piece of cake, go for it. Well, you don't want to look at that and go, well, he said go for it, so I'm going to have cake for breakfast, lunch, dinner. And no, you kind of missed the point here. That's how I see the potential problem with this rule. But here's what I really want to dig down into. There is a deeper issue with this that I don't think we should miss, and it's specific to a small group of people. I'm looking at you right now, and that's for those of you who I think by all definitions, you've made it in life financially, and I'm talking about retirees, you retirees who have gotten to a point where if you're honest with yourself, you would look back and say, I never thought that I would have this much in investments and in savings when I was in my 20s and 30s. All I cared about back then was just working hard, and I saved, and I scrimped, and I raised a family, and yes, we made mistakes along the way. Everybody does. And somehow I got through that. And I kept working hard and I kept investing in my 401k and I kept putting money away wherever I could. It was hard at first, but here I sit at 65, 75, 80 or whatever. And I'm thinking, how did I get to this point? Here is the issue that a lot of you are having. you are having a real big problem with going from the saving mentality to the spending mentality. We just talked about the 0.01% rule, right? But that's the small stuff. When I first thought that, I started to expand that out and go, you know what though? If people are having a tough time deciding if they want the extra gadget on the iPhone or they want that extra top shelf margarita, it's a much grander scale with people who have more money in retirement where they don't even know if they want to travel internationally because it costs too much. I have really had to coach wealthier retirees a lot to say, go ahead and spend the money if it fits into your plan. That's the assumption that we're making. If it doesn't fit into your plan, of course not. But you worked so hard your whole life. You put in the sweat equity all of those years, all of those decades to get yourself in this position now to enjoy it in retirement. But I get it, my friends, I get it. Those of us who are boomers, many of you older than me since I'm a younger boomer, we had it driven into our brains when we were younger because we had parents or grandparents who lived through the Great Depression. So we were somewhat close to that. We lived within our means. We didn't spend uncontrollably. It's hard to make that switch in your brain, isn't it? It's in your hard drive. It's kind of in your DNA. It's hard for you to spend that extra money when it makes no economic sense. So when you travel internationally, and if you have the money, get a first class ticket if you can afford it. Now, let me warn you, once you do that, you'll never want to go back because you'll get spoiled. It's like, at least here in St. Louis at Busch Stadium, we call it the green seats. Once you actually sit in a green seat, it's hard to go back and buy these seats. But seriously, if I asked your adult kids, do you expect a big inheritance? You might assume that maybe your parents have the money to go out and spend. Do you expect an inheritance? Yeah, we probably expect something. Do you wish that they would maybe spend some of that money while they're alive? Yes, we tell them that all the time. The reason I know that is because I live it all the time. I have a number of clients who are retired, who have the assets. They have adult kids who are also clients, and we will have these little conversations behind your back. And they'll say to me, yeah, I wish mom and dad would actually spend some of that money. They just don't really do anything. So folks, stop beating yourself up. I know you're humble. I know you've been good savers, but it's okay to spend it. It's okay to get that first class ticket. It's okay if you're looking at a new car to upgrade maybe to something that you really want if you can afford it. The kids will get their inheritance. It reminds me recently of what Susie Orman said a few years ago, famously or infamously. And she said this, you know that money that you spend on that overpriced cup of coffee at Starbucks, that cafe frappuccino caramel cream, whatever it's called. There's some wild names out there. Instead of spending money on those things, waste of money, you take that little bit of money and you invest it in your Roth IRA. And over the course of years and decades, what that could grow to. Now, well, I understand the sentiment. I do. I'm not bagging on Susie Orman here. I understand that. My gosh, can we just give ourselves a break, even for you younger people? If you can afford it, buy your cup of coffee. It's okay to buy an overpriced cup of coffee once in a while if it gives you joy and it gives you that pleasure and it starts off your day. Some of us have become so tight. Now, this is a little bit of a different theme. I know it, a little different of a tone here because too many Americans overspend. And that's where a lot of podcasts, and I've even done it too, like you have to be more responsible. Our government too, spending way too much money. We've kind of gone in a different direction this time, didn't we? So that's why I'm saying this is kind of a narrowly focused theme today for those of you who have amassed all of that money over time and now you have it and you can spend it. If you are not into the material thing and you're like, Dave, I know, you're right. I have I've done very well for myself, better than I thought. I'm humble about it. I'm appreciative about it. But I don't like to spend money on a lot of things. I get it. I understand. All right, go ahead and gift more money while you're alive. Gift it to your kids. Gift it to grandkids. Set up 529 plans. Charitable giving. How about not doing $50 or $100 anymore to, okay, I'll just give a little. How about thousands? I'm serious. Make a difference where you can actually see a difference. Go down to the charity and talk to them. If I gave you this amount of money, which is a larger amount, what would that actually get? How could that work? How can I maybe be part of it? That's what this is all about, friends. So that's my theme here. Take that crowbar, for those of you who can, and just kind of pry open that wallet a little bit more, pry open that purse a little bit more, do what your kids actually would prefer you to do. And if you want to spend it on the kids, then take them on the international trip. I love it when I see clients do that. Or to Disney World, take the kids and grandkids and enjoy it. You earned it. I hope this helps. I hope it maybe triggers something and finally gets you to think, yes, I know, I think about this all the time and my kids want me to spend more. Okay, I'll consider it. Pass this along to anyone else you feel could benefit from it. And if you haven't done so already, thank you so much. For those of you who have already subscribed, please do so. We'll talk to you again next week.